The diplomatic station of Valaris Prime drifted silently at the edge of neutral space, a place where wars paused and words carried more weight than weapons. Its halls were built wide and tall, shaped for dozens of alien species, each with their own customs, fears, and unspoken rules. Humans were new here, still watched, still judged. Ethan Hale walked through those halls with slow, careful steps. He was not a soldier today. No armor, no visible weapon. Just a simple dark uniform with the small blue symbol of Earth stitched on the chest. Around him, alien guards watched closely, their eyes glowing, shifting, or clicking softly as he passed. Humans were considered unpredictable. That alone made them dangerous. Ethan felt the weight of their attention but did not react. Humans had learned long ago that staring back only made things worse. He kept his hands visible and his posture calm, just as he had been trained. At the end of the hall stood two massive doors carved from crystal metal. Ancient. Royal. Beyond them waited someone few beings in the galaxy were ever allowed to meet. The alien princess of House Sereth. Ethan had read the files. Every human diplomat had. She was powerful, intelligent, respected, and feared. Not because she was cruel, but because she was different. Among her people, appearance mattered. Symmetry, grace, perfection. The princess did not fit those standards. Her form carried marks of her species' harsh world-ridged skin that reflected light unevenly, eyes that shimmered like storm clouds, and a presence that unsettled most who stood before her. Many avoided looking at her directly. Some could not. Others pretended not to notice. The doors opened with a low, resonant sound. Ethan stepped inside. The chamber was vast and quiet. Light filtered from above, refracting through floating crystal panels. At the center stood a raised platform, and upon it, the princess. She was taller than Ethan expected, taller than most humans. Her posture was straight, her bearing unmistakably royal. Elegant robes flowed around her, woven with symbols of her house and empire. Ethan stopped at the marked position on the floor and bowed slightly, following protocol. Silence stretched. The princess studied him. Her gaze was sharp, focused, and heavy with centuries of tradition. She had met countless ambassadors, traders, and warriors from across the galaxy. They all behaved the same when they stood before her, careful, polite, distant, and afraid. "This human," she said at last, her voice calm but resonant. "You were not scheduled to stand before me." Ethan lifted his head slowly. "That is correct, Your Highness." "Then explain why you are here." There was no anger in her tone, only curiosity. Ethan chose his words carefully. There was an incident during the council session, a misunderstanding between delegates. I was asked to speak on behalf of humanity to prevent escalation. Her eyes narrowed slightly. "You volunteered?" "Yes." That earned him a longer look. Many species sent their most decorated figures forward. Warriors, nobles, elders. Humans, however, often sent ordinary people, those who could speak plainly, under pressure. It confused the galaxy. The princess descended the platform with slow, deliberate steps, stopping only a few paces away from Ethan. He could feel the strength in her presence, like standing near a storm held perfectly still. "Most avoid standing this close to me," she said. "I was instructed where to stand," Ethan replied honestly. Her lips curved almost imperceptibly. "And if I had instructed you to stand farther away, then I would have followed that instruction." Her eyes searched his face, as if looking for deception. She found none. "Tell me, human," she said, "why are you not afraid?" The question was simple. It was also a trap. Ethan's mind raced. Every answer he considered felt wrong. Fear was expected. Fear was acceptable. Fear maintained balance. But the truth was something else entirely. He looked at her, really looked. He noticed the way the light reflected off her ridged skin, not harshly, but like stone shaped by time and endurance. He noticed her eyes not monstrous, not unsettling, but deep and alive, filled with intelligence and quiet restraint. He noticed the scars along one arm, marks of survival, not weakness. His throat tightened. For the first time since entering the chamber, Ethan forgot where he was. The silence stretched again. "Human," the princess said, her voice firmer now. You have not answered. Ethan swallowed. When he spoke, the words escaped before he could stop them. I couldn't speak, he said softly. So I said what came first. The guards shifted. The advisors along the walls stiffened. The princess tilted her head slightly. And what was that? Ethan met her gaze. She is beautiful, he said. The words echoed through the chamber. Then nothing. No alarms. No shouts. No immediate punishment. Just shock. The princess stared at him, unmoving. Her expression did not change, but something behind her eyes did. Confusion. Surprise. Something far deeper. No one had ever said that to her. Not like that. Not without fear. Not without motive. The advisors began murmuring urgently. Their voices low but sharp. Some looked horrified. Others looked angry. One stepped forward. Your Highness, this is... Silence, the princess said. Her voice cut through the chamber like a blade. She did not look away from Ethan. You understand, she said slowly, that such words are forbidden. Yes, Ethan replied. And you spoke them anyway. Yes. Why? Ethan took a breath. There was no going back now. Because it was true. The silence returned, heavier than before. The princess studied him for a long moment. Then she did something no one expected. She laughed. It was quiet, brief, almost disbelieving. Truth, she repeated. So rarely offered without condition. She turned slightly, addressing the chamber. Leave us. The advisors froze. Your Highness, I said, leave us. One by one, they withdrew. The guards hesitated last, then followed orders, the doors closing behind them. Now, only the princess and the human remained. You risked much, she said. I know. You could have been executed. I know. Exiled, imprisoned, removed from negotiations entirely. Ethan nodded. I know. Then why do it? He answered without hesitation. Because humans believe some truths are worth the risk. Her gaze softened, just slightly. You see me differently, she said. Some do, Ethan admitted. Some don't. Humans don't share one mind. She considered that. And you? I see someone who has endured, he said. Someone strong enough to stand where others wouldn't. The princess turned away, walking back toward the platform. You may leave, she said quietly. Ethan hesitated. Did I offend you? She stopped. No, she said. You unsettled me. He bowed again, deeper this time, and turned toward the doors. As they opened, he heard her voice one last time. Human. He paused. No one has ever spoken to me as you did today, she said. The galaxy will react to this. Ethan met her gaze over his shoulder. So will humanity. The doors closed behind him. And across Valaris Prime, whispers began to spread. A human had spoken forbidden words to the alien princess, and she had not destroyed him. Ethan Hale did not sleep that night. From his small guest quarters on Valaris Prime, he could see the slow drift of stars through the transparent alloy window. The station's artificial night cycle dimmed the lights. But his thoughts refused to slow down. He had spoken forbidden words to an alien princess, and lived. That alone meant something had changed. Across the station, reactions spread like a silent shockwave. Diplomats whispered behind closed doors. Security alerts quietly adjusted. Human representatives were suddenly surrounded by polite but firm watchers. No one accused Ethan openly. That worried everyone more. In the royal wing, the alien princess stood alone before a tall reflective surface made of liquid crystal. It did not show a perfect image. It showed truth, every line, every ridge, every mark shaped by her species' brutal homeworld. She stared at her reflection. Beautiful. The word echoed in her mind, unfamiliar and unsettling. She had been called many things in her life. Powerful. Intimidating. Unusual. Necessary. Never that. Not once. Her people valued perfection of form. She had been born different. Stronger. Built for survival rather than display. From childhood, she learned to rule with intelligence and restraint, not charm. Respect came through command, not admiration. Yet the human had not spoken with fear. He had not hesitated. He had looked at her as if she were simply a person. The princess clenched her hands slightly. That disturbed her more than any insult could have. A soft tone echoed in the chamber. A request for entry. Enter, she said. An advisor stepped in, bowing low. His skin shimmered with nervous energy. Your Highness, the council has convened an emergency discussion. They request your presence. She turned from the mirror. On what matter? The human, the advisor said carefully. Of course, they fear unrest. He continued. Several factions believe the human's words were deliberate influence. Others see it as disrespect. Some demand punishment. And you? The princess asked. The advisor hesitated. I fear change. She studied him. Change is not always danger. He lowered his head. The council does not agree. Summon the human, she said. The advisor's eyes widened. Here? Yes. At once. When Ethan was escorted through the royal halls again, he felt the tension immediately. Guards were more numerous, their movements sharper. This was no longer a quiet misunderstanding. This was political. He entered the chamber and stopped where instructed. The princess stood waiting. Her expression unreadable. You were summoned, she said. I came, Ethan replied. Do you regret what you said? The question struck deeper than any threat. Ethan considered it honestly. No. Why? Because regret would mean it wasn't true. She studied him closely. You understand what you caused. Yes. Entire alliances are built on silence, she said. You broke one. Sometimes silence hurts more, Ethan said. Her gaze sharpened. Explain. Ethan took a breath. Humans come from a world that tried to kill us many times. Storms. Cold. Heat. Disease. We learned early that survival doesn't look beautiful, but endurance can be. She listened without interrupting. When humans see scars, he continued, we don't always see damage. We see proof that someone survived something that tried to end them. The princess turned away slowly, her voice quieter. My people see reminders of weakness. Humans see stories, Ethan said. Silence followed. Then the doors opened without permission. Members of the Galactic Council entered, their forms diverse and imposing. This was no private meeting anymore. Your Highness, one counselor said sharply, this interaction has gone too far. The princess faced them. You entered without consent. This matter threatens stability, another replied. The human must be removed. Ethan remained still. He had learned when not to speak. This human violated royal protocol. A third counselor said, words shape perception. Perception shapes power. Then perhaps, the princess said calmly, you fear losing power. A ripple of unease passed through the council. The human species is new, a counselor argued. Their values are untested. Untrue, Ethan said quietly. All eyes turned to him. You will remain silent, a counselor snapped. The princess raised a hand. He will speak. Ethan stepped forward slightly. Humans do not survive by pretending danger does not exist. We face it. We name it. And we choose how to respond. You claim moral superiority? A counselor hissed. No, Ethan said. We claim honesty, the council murmured angrily. One human's honesty does not justify destabilizing royal authority, another said. The princess moved then, stepping between Ethan and the council without hesitation. This conversation ends, she said. You will leave. Your Highness. You forget, she said, her voice firm. Who commands this space? Reluctantly, the council withdrew, though their looks promised consequences. When the doors closed again, the princess exhaled slowly. You defended me, Ethan said. I defended myself, she replied. Then, after a pause, you defended an idea. What idea? He asked. That I am more than a symbol. The station alarms sounded faintly in the distance, not emergency, but alert. News was spreading. The princess looked toward the ceiling. They will not stop. I know, Ethan said. They may demand your removal. Or ours. Ethan nodded. Humans are familiar with that choice. She turned to him. Explain. When faced with demands that force us to betray who we are, Ethan said, we leave. That surprised her. You abandon negotiations? We walk away, he said. Sometimes peace built on fear isn't peace at all. She studied him carefully. Your species would give up advantage? Yes. That is, irrational. Maybe, Ethan said. But it's why we're still here. The princess was silent for a long time. Do you know, she said slowly, what happens to those my people consider different? Ethan did not answer immediately. I can guess. They are tolerated, she said. Useful. Never embraced. She looked at him. Until today, I accepted that. Ethan met her gaze. Until today, someone told you the truth. Her eyes softened again, just slightly. Leave me, she said gently, before this grows worse. Ethan bowed. Whatever happens next, thank you. For what? She asked. For listening. As he exited the chamber, guards closed in behind him, not threatening, but watchful. Across Valaris Prime, transmissions began to circulate. Other species debated heatedly. Some mocked the humans. Others wondered if they had misunderstood them all along. On Earth's diplomatic channel, a quiet message was sent. Prepare for withdrawal protocols. Not as a threat. As a principle. In the royal chamber, the princess returned to the reflective surface once more. She raised a hand, touching the image. Beautiful. For the first time, she did not look away. And somewhere deep within the empire, something ancient began to shift. By the next cycle on Valaris Prime, the station no longer felt neutral. It felt divided, security corridors filled with quiet movement. Delegations stayed inside sealed chambers. Messages passed through private channels instead of open halls. The galaxy was watching, and everyone knew it. At the center of it all stood one human. Ethan Hale was escorted into a council antechamber under heavy guard. Not restrained, but clearly not free either. His calm expression unsettled those around him more than anger ever could. Humans were supposed to be nervous right now. He wasn't. Across the station, the alien princess prepared for a council session, unlike any before. She stood alone, as attendants adjusted the ceremonial markings of her robe. Her posture was perfect, but her thoughts were restless. She had replayed the human's words again and again, not the sentence, the meaning behind it. For the first time in her life, someone had spoken to her without expectation. No praise for power, no fear of consequence, no attempt to gain favor. Just truth. And now the galaxy demanded that truth be erased. An advisor approached cautiously. Your Highness, the Council has issued a formal demand. She did not look at him. Let me guess. The human must be removed. Yes, he said. Immediately. They believe his presence destabilizes royal authority. And if I refuse? The advisor hesitated. They may override royal privilege. She turned slowly. They would dare? They are afraid, he replied. And fear makes even the cautious reckless. The princess closed her eyes briefly. Summon the council. In the grand chamber, representatives of dozens of species gathered in tense silence. Floating platforms hovered at different heights, each designed for a specific physiology. At the center stood an empty space, reserved for the accused. Ethan was escorted forward and released at the center mark. He did not look around. He simply waited. Murmurs spread. This is the human? So small, so calm, so dangerous. The council leader spoke. Ethan Hale of Earth, you stand accused of violating royal protocol, influencing a sovereign ruler, and threatening galactic stability. Ethan lifted his head. I spoke honestly when asked a question. That honesty was not yours to offer, the leader snapped. Truth doesn't belong to anyone. Ethan replied calmly. A ripple of irritation passed through the chamber. You presume much for a new species, another counselor said. Humans learned early not to wait for permission to survive, Ethan said. The princess entered then. The chamber fell silent instantly. She took her place above the assembly, her presence commanding attention without effort. Her gaze moved briefly to Ethan, then to the council. "You called this session without my consent," she said. "This matter concerns you directly," the council leader replied. "Your judgment has been compromised." Judgment has been compromised. A sharp intake of breath echoed through the chamber. The princess did not react immediately. "Explain." "The human altered perception," the counselor said. "Words carry power. His words undermine tradition." "Or challenge it," she replied. "Tradition keeps order." Another counselor argued. "Order keeps peace." "Does it?" she asked quietly. The question unsettled them. Ethan spoke again. "If peace only exists when one voice is silent, it isn't peace. It's control." "You will be silent," a counselor barked. The princess raised her hand. "He will finish." Ethan nodded respectfully. "Humans have been judged before we were understood. We know what that leads to." "You compare yourself to us?" the council leader demanded. "No," Ethan said. "I compare us to history." A holographic display activated at the edge of the chamber. Images appeared, human cities rebuilt after disaster. People standing together in ruined landscapes. Faces marked by exhaustion but unbroken. "We survived because we refused to hide who we are," Ethan continued. "We don't fear truth, we fear losing it." The council erupted in argument. "This is manipulation. This is emotional coercion. This proves why humans cannot be trusted." The princess stood. Silence fell again. "You accuse him of influence," she said. "Yet you fear his words because they resonate." She looked across the council. "Ask yourselves why." The council leader stiffened. "We will not allow one human to reshape galactic norms." "Then perhaps," she said calmly, "you misunderstand the situation." She turned to Ethan. "Human, if the council demands your removal, what will your species do?" Ethan answered without hesitation. "We will leave." A wave of shock spread through the chamber. "Leave?" A counselor scoffed. "You would abandon alliances, trade, protection?" "Yes," Ethan said. "We don't trade our values for safety." "That is irrational," the leader said. "So is demanding silence to preserve comfort," Ethan replied. The princess watched the council carefully as realization dawned. "You see now," she said. "They are not threatening war. They are offering absence." That frightened them more than violence ever could. "Humanity's presence benefits this council," a counselor said quickly. "Your technology, your fleets, are not bargaining chips," Ethan said. "They are choices." The council leader turned to the princess. "You must denounce this human, publicly." She held his gaze. "And if I do not? Then you risk isolation," he warned. "Loss of influence. Loss of authority." She considered that. Then she smiled. "Authority built on fear was never mine," she said. The chamber froze. "I will not denounce him," she continued. "Nor will I allow him to be punished for honesty." "You choose chaos," a counselor hissed. "No," she replied. "I choose truth." She turned to Ethan. "Human, you may leave this chamber freely." Guards hesitated. "Let him pass," she commanded. They obeyed. As Ethan stepped away, the council leader spoke urgently. "If humanity withdraws, this council will remember who caused it." Ethan paused and turned. "Humanity will remember too," he said. "Who listened and who didn't." He left the chamber. The moment the doors closed, the council erupted into frantic debate. Across the station, human diplomats received confirmation. Begin withdrawal sequence. Ships powered up quietly. Trade links paused. Data exchanges slowed. Then stopped, not in anger. In principle, on Valaris Prime, sensors detected the change. Humanity was stepping back, not threatening, not attacking. Walking away, the princess stood alone again in her chamber, watching distant human ships align for departure. An advisor entered, visibly shaken. "Your Highness, they are truly leaving." "Yes," she said. "If they go, the balance shifts. The council will blame you." She nodded. "Let them. Why risk everything?" the advisor asked. She looked at him. "Because, for the first time, someone spoke to me as myself, not a symbol. She turned back to the stars. And I will not silence that. Across the galaxy, whispers grew louder. Humans did not beg. They did not threaten. They simply refused to stay where truth was unwelcome, and that terrified everyone. The galaxy noticed humanity's silence before it understood its meaning. Trade channels went quiet. Shared research networks slowed, then stopped. Human ships did not threaten or posture. They simply turned away from Velaris Prime and aligned for departure. Their engines glowing softly like distant stars choosing a different path. Across the Galactic Council, fear spread. Not panic, uncertainty. Humans were not supposed to do this. New species always clung to influence, begged for protection, or lashed out when pushed. Humanity did none of those things. They walked away. On Velaris Prime, the alien princess stood at the observation balcony, her hands resting calmly at her sides. Beyond the transparent barrier, she watched the human fleet preparing to leave neutral space. An advisor approached, his voice unsteady. "Your Highness, the Council requests your presence again." She did not turn. "They have had many chances to speak. They fear collapse," the advisor said. "Several allied species are reconsidering their positions. If humanity leaves, others may follow." She nodded slowly. "Then perhaps the structure was weaker than they believed." The advisor hesitated. "If you act now, you could still reverse this. Denounce the human. Condemn the statement. Restore order." The princess finally turned. "Order," she repeated, built on silence. She walked past him toward the council chamber. Inside, chaos simmered beneath forced calm. Representatives argued openly now. Accusations flew. Long-standing alliances strained under sudden doubt. The council leader looked up sharply as she entered. "Your Highness, we need your cooperation." "You had it," she replied. "You chose fear instead." "Humanity is destabilizing the galaxy," another counselor said. "Their withdrawal creates uncertainty." "No," she said calmly. "It reveals it." She stepped forward, her voice steady but carrying easily through the chamber. "You claim to protect peace," she continued. "Yet you demanded silence from truth. You feared one honest sentence more than a fleet." The council leader bristled. "That sentence challenged tradition." "Then tradition was fragile," she replied. A murmur spread. "Your Highness," the leader said tightly. "What are you proposing?" She took a breath. "I am proposing change." The chamber erupted. "You cannot. This is reckless. You will fracture the council." She raised her hand. Silence fell. "I will not condemn the human," she said. "Nor will I pretend his words were an attack. They were a mirror." Storting, she looked across the assembly. "And many of you did not like what you saw." The council leader stood. "If you persist, you risk your throne." She met his gaze without flinching. "A throne that demands I deny myself is not worth keeping." That stunned them. Across the station, Ethan Hale stood aboard a human diplomatic ship, watching Velaris Prime grow smaller. Around him, crew members worked quietly. No celebration. No anger. Just resolve. A message alert sounded. Incoming transmission. Priority. Royal channel. Ethan frowned. "Put it through." The image formed slowly. The alien princess appeared on the screen. Ethan straightened instinctively. "Your Highness." "Ethan Hale," she said. "I asked you once why you were not afraid. Now I will ask something else." He waited. "If humanity leaves, will you return?" Ethan answered honestly. "Only if we're invited as equals." She nodded. "Then listen carefully." She turned her gaze outward, as if addressing more than just him. "I am issuing a declaration," she said, effective immediately. Back in the council chamber, the princess's voice echoed through every channel. "My empire will adopt new diplomatic principles," she announced. "Honesty without punishment. Choice without coercion. Respect without fear." The council exploded in protest. She continued. "Any species that shares these principles is welcome to engage with us freely. Any that does not may keep their silence." She turned back to Ethan's image. Humanity is invited to return, not as petitioners, not as tools, but as partners. The bridge of the human ship was silent. Ethan felt something tighten in his chest. "I'll relay the message," he said. "Do more than that," she replied softly. "Decide." The transmission ended. Minutes later, across human channels, a simple vote was taken. Not by generals, not by politicians alone, by representatives chosen for one reason. They spoke plainly. The decision came back quickly. The human fleet changed course, not rushing, not hesitating, returning. On Valaris Prime, sensors lit up as human ships realigned toward the station. Other species noticed. Some followed. Others watched. Unsure, the council leader stared at the data feeds. "You have changed everything," he said to the princess. She nodded. "Yes, history will judge this," he warned. She met his eyes. So will the future. When Ethan returned to the station, the atmosphere was different. Guards no longer watched him with suspicion. Some inclined their heads. Others stepped aside without being told. Word had spread. The human who spoke truth had not been punished. He had been heard. Ethan was escorted once more to the royal chamber. This time, there were no advisors present. No guards inside. Only the princess. "You came back," she said. "So did you," he replied. She smiled faintly. "The galaxy will never be the same. Neither will humanity," Ethan said. "We've been seen now." "Good," she replied. "So have I." They stood in silence for a moment. Not awkward, not heavy. "Do you know," she said, "what they will call this moment?" Ethan shook his head. "They will say the galaxy shifted because a human chose honesty over safety." He smiled slightly. "That sounds like us." She looked at him thoughtfully. "And they will say, an alien princess listened." Across the stars, stories began to spread. Not of battles or fleets, but of a single sentence spoken without fear. A sentence that reminded the galaxy what truth could do. Humanity became known not just for strength or resilience, but for walking away when asked to be less than themselves, and returning only when invited to be more. The princess stood once more before the reflective surface in her chamber. She looked at her image, every ridge, every mark, every sign of endurance. This time, she did not search for flaws. She simply accepted what she saw. Beautiful. Not because someone said it, but because she finally believed it. And somewhere, in the quiet between stars, the galaxy learned a dangerous lesson.